Will the college football world catch up to Josh Heupel's offense? Brought to you by the Hemp House. Hemp House, chatwith2ts.com. Caleb, thoughts? Is this something that Tennessee fans should be worried about? Not just this year, but going down the line.
Yes, it's always something you should worry about. I mean, you know this, Dave. You covered the you covered Tennessee during the Spurrier years when they finally figured out the Florida offense. But it took a long time. So the question is, how long will it take? And will Josh Heupel already have the program rolling? Because Spurrier had so much success by that point that it didn't matter that people had figured it out. Now, on the flip side, you guys know I always question the IQ of coaches, but I do think defensive coordinators are a lot smarter today than they were back in the 90s. I mean, I'm sorry, Dave. It still boggles my mind that it took 8 years in the SEC before a defensive coordinator was like, hey, maybe we should have some faster linebackers to defend Spurrier. Like, how did you not figure that out 3 years in?
And dare him to throw. Dare him to run the ball. He didn't want to run the ball, so they tried to take away the pass, and they dropped into coverage. That was the whole Prowler defense in 2001. It
shouldn't have taken that long to figure out.
No, I agree. Every single offense or defense is caught up to. Okay.
Everyone.
And Travis, I think it's debatable if they figured out Spurrier, but I thought with the Prowler package was kind of the final 2x4 on the camel's back that they did. But that's fair to ask that question. It will be. Josh Heupel's offense will be caught up to one day, but that doesn't mean he's not going to be a successful coach. And I'm going to tell you why. And it's brought to you by the Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Hemp House chat with 2ts.com. Hemp House chat with 2ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. I don't believe that it matters if defenses catch up to Josh Heupel's offense for two reasons. One, I think he's a good coach in other categories. He's not just an offensive coach. And he said that at the SEC Media Days. Don't just call me an offensive coach. That's one. And the other thing is this offense is still based in the ground game. If this was a gimmicky offense like the run and shoot that had 5 wide at times, that may be a little bit before your time, going back to Warren Moon and those guys with the Oilers. But Caleb, that was gimmicky. And you knew it was gimmicky, but you thought it's fun to watch and they are competing, so go for it. But ultimately their defense was hung out to dry. I thought there was a chance that Josh Heupel might be that type of coach when I first saw his offense. But now that I've learned more about him, his pride in running the ball, the fact that he wants an elite defense, I don't think it matters if he's caught up to or not. But yes, he probably will be at some point, that offense.
Yeah, I agree. Heupel manipulates the rules of the offense, so it's tricky to see how you catch up to it if he recruits the right players. The difference between that and like a Spurrier was just like, well, I'm just going to throw the ball a lot. It wasn't anything simple. I mean, it wasn't anything complex. It was, I'm going to throw the ball a lot. And defensive coordinator was like, oh, I wonder how you stop the passing game. But that's how it was. I'm sorry. They make him sound so smart with the fun and gun. I'm like, so you're saying defensive coordinators took 8 years to figure out to just put more speed on the field. Anyways, Heupel actually uses the wide splits with the wide hash marks. He uses a vertical rushing attack. The question doesn't necessarily become, will Josh Heupel's offense be figured out? I think in today's game, because of the rules, it's hard to figure it out. The question is, in my opinion, will another more advanced offense come along? And I think that you're on the precipice of that. You're going to test it with Kalen DeBoer and Jeff Lebby in the SEC. Jeff Lebby runs a hybrid of what Josh Heupel does and what Lane Kiffin does. And for those who don't remember, I'm talking Lane Kiffin from his USC days.
See, I think Tennessee is the perfect case study, Caleb, because they also want to get upfield and they want to be aggressive on defense. So my question is, does a team say, hey, these guys are throwing the ball all around? Let's just say, pick a team in the East, South Carolina. Let's say they don't.
I love how you said the East.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't say the East
anymore.
I'm sorry. Let's take Kentucky, for instance. And they say Tennessee's our rival. We want to beat them. We're going to chuck all that we've done and try to approach that game and that rivalry in a more traditional sense. In other words, run the football in the A and B gap. In other words, control the football. In other words, on defense, I think you're going to have to drop a lot of guys into coverage and keep the score low. But that's how you would approach it, and I think that's doable. But I think Josh Heupel would have an answer for that.
I think he probably would. My question is, would he have an answer for if he wants to be a defensive guy, would he figure out new offensive schemes that come into the SEC, or does he care to figure out new offensive schemes? Is the question.
Well, I think this comes back to what is Joey Halzle for Tennessee? Because I believe Alex Golish came to the table with ideas, offensive ideas. And now we have Joey Halzle that has stepped in. I believe last year was more Milton's fault than Halzle, but some of you think it's Halzle. I don't think that's the case. But you also have Tennessee's offensive line coach, Glenn Ellerbe, getting access to the headset and being involved more with the offensive play calling and game planning. So either it's one of two things. Either that is, hey, man, we need some fresh eyes on this offense. We need a little bit more new input. Or it's just, Glenn, you've been a great soldier, so we're going to make you more of an offense.
I think with the helmet community, I think the reason they're doing that is the helmet communication. I think because of the helmet communication, Glenn Ellerbe could probably talk to Cooper Mays specifically from the sideline, and they can do offensive formations. That's why he's involved in the offensive play calling now. I think it was a change with that. But again, the question, I'm stuck on. I don't think he's ever going to get figured out. As I say this out loud, I'm like, everybody gets figured out, but Dave, the rules don't allow you to figure out Josh Heupel's offense.
That's true. And the old West Coast offense was never figured out. I mean, there's still people running that in the NFL. There are people running that in the college game. It's just a quick, short passing game. So, no, I think in college, I don't know if it'll ever take to the NFL, but I do believe in college that this thing's going to stick.
Exactly. Now, what's more cutting edge? So you're right. Heupel does this. Kalen DeBoer runs, you just said it, the West Coast. He runs the air raid he runs the air raid out of the spread formations, and he doesn't run the ball. That's the difference people don't understand between a Heupel and a Kalen DeBoer. Heupel runs the ball. He uses tight ends. So Kalen DeBoer runs the air raid with 3 tight ends, which is going to be weird to see, Dave. Do you think that's more cutting edge than Heupel's offense at all?
That Kalen DeBoer is going to run with 3 tight ends?
He runs an air raid with 3 tight ends. That's how he does it.
The last guy that did that was Brian Harsin at Auburn, and we all know how that went. It wasn't an air raid, but it was 3 tight ends. No, I think multiple tight ends is a great way to lose in the SEC. I wasn't honestly aware of that.
Yeah, he runs the air raid with multiple tight ends. So for those who don't know, think Mike Leach's old system.
What the hell is that, slow raid?
That's what he uses for his running game. He doesn't run the ball. He throws the short dump off to tight ends. That's how he does it.
Okay, well, I'm interested to see how that works because it sounds pretty slow. I mean, tight ends by their nature are slower than the receivers.
It's about efficiency, and people didn't get this about Mike Leach's offense because he put up so many points. It's not like Josh Heupel's offense. Josh Heupel wants to score like that. I mean, Josh Heupel's not happy if he took more than 2 minutes to score a touchdown or needed more than 6 plays to score a touchdown on offense. I mean, he's not. Kalen DeBoer and Mike Leach, the air raid is going to work you down the field. You know what I mean? It's going to work you down the field. It's like even though it's a pass-happy offense, it's a ball control offense. Is that fair to say at the same time?
Yeah, but Derek likes slow raid, and I do too.
Well, all air raids are slow. Air raids are about ball control.
But a bunch of dudes that play tight end that are 240 pounds are going to be extra slow as opposed to the 210 Mike Matthews.
I mean, that's kind of what the Patriots did for a while. Remember, the Patriots would spread the field and use their tight ends. It was a pro style, don't get me wrong, but that was what they did with Tom Brady for years, right? They spread the field, but used their tight ends to do it. And so that's not a totally out of the line concept. And so,
but you would have to agree it's not very sexy.
It's not. And also, it's not like it's impossible to figure out. So that's, the Heupel off, it's not manipulating the rules the way Heupel's offense is. Manipulating the rules. Heupel turns college football rules against himself. Heupel will be a fine until they change the rules in college football. And mean, what if Heupel, and this is the truth, what if Heupel's so successful that he starts winning national championship after national championship, and it's like a Wilt Chamberlain move where they have to change the rules because Heupel's dominating so much with this offense?
Or like Wilt Chamberlain, if he starts to have Nico throw underhanded. Because at one point, Wilt Chamberlain sharply throws underhanded. Tuesdays brought to you by our good friends at Newbert Collision Center. They are fantastic. fantastic. And why do the people out there that think the Vols are rebuilding not think that this is the season? Because Caleb said it. I've said it. Have they been listening?